Greetings, everyone. It is the Ambassador coming at you with a brand new. Do that, Bear. Work video. Work video. I hope y'all are doing well today, wherever you are out in this wonderful world of ours. And we're going to be resuming our pop culture 1980s movie review series. And I want to cover today a favorite of mine. Well, it has become a favorite of mine in the last few years because this is one that This is a movie I had not heard of up until just honestly a few years ago. I mean, I had heard of it, but I never really watched it. We're going to be talking about The Princess Bride. And I will be perfectly candid with you all. This is a movie that has grown on me over the last 8 years, give or take. I mean, obviously, I was a child of the 80s, but this was a movie that I wasn't very much aware of until, like I said, until recently, when a lot of my friends from college were like, "You've never seen Princess Bride? Inconceivable!" Sorry. Had to do it. I had to go there. But this is a movie that has seriously grown on me over the last several years, and it has become a favorite of mine. And I think the reason for this, I think it's the reason why it has maintained its popularity, it is honestly a truly timeless story. Both from the aspect of, you've got this grandfather, Peter Falk, who some of you may not know, played a TV detective back in the day, a little guy by the name of Columbo. If you don't know Columbo, just look it up on YouTube, look up Columbo clips or whatever. And Peter Falk played this character. He played him very masterfully. He seemed kind of like an oafish, kind of slow-witted private detective, I think he was. But he was actually very, very smart, very, very intelligent. But he used that persona of oafishness and maybe dim-wittedness, feigned dim-wittedness, to throw his quarry off. But I digress. But you also have the fairy tale aspect of this story and everything that you with Carrie Yules, Robin Wright. I think at the time she was Robin Wright Penn. I don't know if she had married Sean Penn at that point or whatever. You've got the legendary Andre the Giant, the great wrestler from the 1980s. You've got Mandy Patinkin as Inigo Montoya. And you've got just this great a cast of characters in this movie. And you've got this story told by the grandfather to the grandson, Fred Savage, from Wonder Years, if y'all remember that show, which I may cover later, but anyways, Princess Bride. And I think the wonderful thing about this movie is, as I've already mentioned, it is truly a timeless story. It has aged extraordinarily well. It is very entertaining. It is very, very charming. And it's done by a director who isn't necessarily synonymous with movies like this. You would think Princess Bride would be more something that Steven Spielberg would have done, or maybe Chris Columbus. But this was a Rob Reiner film. And while it is extremely silly at points, there are moments that are very heavy, very serious, and what have you. But as the grandson says to the grandfather, "Is this a kissing story?" But for those of you who may not be terribly familiar with Princess Bride, I'll give you a very brief overview of the story, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. Basically, Princess Bride is it's a fantasy story. It's a romance and everything, and you get it kind of gives you it's kind of in the same vein of maybe The Adventures of Robin Hood, the old colorized version with Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland and Claude Rains and all them. You can make the argument that there are parallels between Princess Bride and The Adventures of Robin Hood to an extent, because you do have the damsel in distress, you do have the hero trying to save his love, and obviously this is Carrie Yules' character and Robin Wright Penn's character, who play the couple and everything. You have the hero, you have the damsel. But the wonderful thing about this story is it breaks a lot of conventions in fantasy stories because it doesn't take itself overly seriously. And I think that's partially due to the fact that it's the story being told by the grandfather. Bless me, sorry. It's the story being told by the grandfather to the grandson. And the interesting thing about this is the grandfather will kind of alter parts of the story to, of course, sort of satisfy the sensibilities of his grandson because his grandson's sick and his grandson's kind of grumpy and he doesn't like what he calls kissing stories. But the wonderful thing about this story is very straight line, it is very linear, but you could almost say it at some points breaks the fourth wall, but you don't have the characters looking at the camera breaking the fourth wall. But basically the story of The Princess Bride is you have this young couple and everything, Carrie Yules and Robin Wright Penn, who plays Buttercup, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember the name of the character that Carrie Yules plays. I know he goes by one name, the Dread Pirate Roberts, or yeah, I think that's right. And basically, it's a love story where the two are in love, but the girl doesn't realize that the boy's in love with her, and he does all this stuff for her, and she'll make up stuff for him to do. But the nice little touch is every time she says, "Boy, go do this," and he says, "As you wish." And he's really saying, "I love you, and I will do this for you because I do love you." And eventually, the two grow apart, and she ends up being engaged to this really jerkhead of a prince or king or whatever. And he's got these henchmen that work for him. And you've got this side story of these two countries that are almost on the verge of going to war with one another. And the one king, Humperdinck. I forget who plays Humperdinck, but that's the guy that is going to marry Robin Wright Penn's character, Princess Buttercup. Wow. Buttercup. Really? But what you end up have happening is Carrie Yules' character returns, and he's now the Dread Pirate Roberts, and he goes on all these different little quirky adventures to save Princess Buttercup because he's still very much in love with her, but she kind of does him wrong just before they part ways, and he's kind of got a bit of a beef with her, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily unjustified. But what you have to end up happening is Carrie Yules' character, the Dread Pirate Robert, encounters these three different henchmen. And one embodies, he's a very experienced, very powerful, or not powerful, a very skilled sword fighter. Played by Mandy Patinkin, who plays Inigo Montoya. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And then you have Andre the Giant, who plays the giant, the muscle of the trio. And then, of course, you have Wallace Shaw, who plays the brains of the operation, or so he thinks. And he's the one that keeps saying, "This is inconceivable. It's inconceivable. It's inconceivable. It's inconceivable." And you have one moment or several moments where Mandy Patinkin's character, Inigo Montoya, says, "You keep saying that word. I do not think it means what you think it means." Sorry if my Spanish accent's not the best, but you get the idea. But these three are kind of perceived as kind of bunglers, but at the same time, they're very, very charming. And Carrie Yules' character overcomes Montoya, and he gains his respect. And he overcomes Andre the Giant's character, and he gains his respect. But you have Wallace Shaw's character, who is the brains, everything, and he's got Princess Buttercup holding her captive, and they have this game of wits, and they have this drinking contest where one or the other cups has poison in it, and at one point during the battle of wits, Wallace Shaw switches cups, and he thinks he's got a leg up on Carrie Yules' character, but the fact of the matter is he doesn't. And he goes. They pick up their glasses and they hold them out to one another, and they toast and they drink. And Wallace Shaw's character is like, "You just fallen for this great deception or great blunder. I have outwitted you. I have won." And a minute or so later, he freezes, falls over dead. And Carrie Yules' character, Dre Pirate Roberts, and Buttercup are reunited. Although Buttercup doesn't know that this is the boy that was in love with her so many years ago, because he wears a very Zorro-esque disguise and everything. He's got the black pants, the black boots, the black shirt, the black gloves, and he's even got a black bandana mask, kind of like what Antonio Banderas wears in the Zorro movies. And she doesn't realize it's him. And then he finally says that one little phrase that he would say to her, "As you wish," and she finally realizes, holy crap, it's this guy that was in love with me, and what have you. But what ends up happening is they get captured by Humperdinck's forces, and they get taken captive, and Carrie Yules tries to break into Humperdinck's fortress or whatever, and he gets captured, and he gets taken down to what they call, I think it's the Pit of Despair or something. And they have this machine that will like suck years off of, or remove years from your life or whatever. And it's kind of like an experimental device. But the henchman actually has a connection to Inigo Montoya's character, because somewhere in the past, Inigo Montoya's father and the henchman were in a sword fight, and he ends up killing Montoya's father because he says, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." And the henchman has this abnormality. He has like 6 fingers on one hand or something. And Montoya finally realizes, he's like, holy crap, I finally come across the guy that killed my father. Prepare to die. But I'm jumping ahead here a little bit. What you have happening is Inigo Montoya and Andre the Giant. I forget, I think it's Vasily is Andre the Giant's character's name. They end up going to rescue Carrie Yules' character from the Pit of Despair, or whatever, and they take him. They succeed. They take him to this guy played very masterfully by Billy Crystal, called Miracle Max or Magic Max or whatever. I just remember the part of the name is Max, but it's played very. And they end up reviving Carrie Yules' character. And you've got that very iconic scene, and some of you may have seen a clip of it here and there, where Billy Crystal's character, Magic Max, and everything, and his wife and everything, they're standing outside the door. He's like, "Good luck, boys. Have fun storming the castle." And I think the wife says, "What do you think their chances are?" He's like, "It's going to take a miracle." Or something like that. Anyway. But what ends up happening is Carrie Yules, Dre Pirate Roberts, Inigo Montoya, and Vasily, I think honestly is Andre the Giant's character's name. They end up storming the castle. But the problem is, half the time Carrie Yules' character is still part way out of it, because he was just recently revived and he's not up to full strength yet. So they're lugging the pirate Roberts around the castle, and they eventually find a bedroom somewhere and just plunk him in the bed. And they're like, "Okay, we're gonna go off and try and save Buttercup. You just stay here and rest. We'll bring her to you when we're done." And I don't remember exactly what happens with Andre Giant's character. I assume he survived. I think everybody survives except for obviously the bad guys. The bad guys lose. But there's that one very iconic scene between Inigo Montoya and Humperdinck's head henchman. They get into a sword fight, but the problem is the henchman is actually winning. But just this incredibly inconceivable moment happens where Inigo Montoya keeps saying his little catchphrase, and it starts making him stronger because he's getting beaten so badly. He's like, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." And he'll lunge at the henchman and actually land a hit. And he'll keep saying it over and over and over again. It keeps making him stronger and stronger until he actually gets a one up on the henchman. And the henchman's like, "What do you want? Please don't kill me. I'll give you anything you want." And Montoya stabs him through the heart and says, "Can you bring back my father?" "I did not think so." And kills him. And then eventually, I guess it's Prince or King Humperdinck comes across Cary Elwes' character, the Dread Pirate Roberts. And he gives him this absolutely horrific burn to Humperdinck. He's like, "I'll use small words so that you can comprehend, you warthog face buffoon," or something like that. And they get into this sword fight, and eventually Cary Elwes' character defeats Humperdinck. I think he kills him, and him and Buttercup, they end up getting married. And the funny thing is, the Dread Pirate Roberts, there was an original, but Cary Elwes is the newest iteration of the character of this pirate, bandit, whatever you want to call it, and he hands over the moniker and his ship and all his fortune, or part of his fortune, to Inigo Montoya. And Inigo Montoya, and if I'm wrong here, folks, please correct me in the comments below or anything. But I'm pretty sure Inigo Montoya takes up the role as the Dread Pirate Roberts. But that's basically the long and short of it. And what you have after the story is over, they zoom back out to the grandfather and the grandson. And the grandson says, "Will you come visit me again, grandfather? And will you read the story to me again?" Because he's like, "I really like it." And the grandfather looks at him and says, "As you wish." But I think one of the reasons why this movie has endured for as long as it has is because it is genuinely a good, clean family movie, and it appeals to all ages. It is a legitimately fun movie. It's not overhanded on anything. It knows what it is. It acknowledges what it is. And it's just a good, clean movie. For the most part, there's not a lot of swearing or obscenity in it. And it's a good time. It's a movie you can sit down, even though you've watched it a million times, you can just click off your brain and you can just enjoy it. Or you can be like me and overanalyze it. Well, not overanalyze it, but analyze it and say, "Ooh, I like where they do this, and I like where they do this, and this theme fits here," or what have you. But for those of you who may not have seen the movie, I highly recommend it. I hope I didn't spoil it for you, and even if I did, I still recommend, if you've never seen Princess Bride, you can find it just about anywhere. It's not a difficult movie to get your hands on, especially even nowadays. But that all being said, I hope you all enjoyed this review. I give it 2 thumbs way up. I give it my ambassadorial seal of approval. Sorry, hope that didn't scare you. But anyway, guys, as always, if you're enjoying the content on my channel, smash that like button. Consider sharing this. If you have not subscribed and you've come across my channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed this video, and obviously check out more and everything. I do upload at least a couple times a week and everything, and I've got a whole catalog and everything of videos and everything that I've done over the last several months. So you can find me on Twitter at Rogue5778. And until next time, my fellow ambassadors, this is the Ambassador, signing off.